Welcome to Rate the Audits, where we put misconduct on display, explore police and legal content, protect rights and demand accountability. This episode is brought to us by Reggie Photo. Be sure to check the link below and subscribe to his channel and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor Reggie heads to Preston Station to film outside when he's hit with pure hostility. As he approaches a police van, a sergeant shockingly swears at him, calling him an effing biff. When Reggie challenges the disgusting language, he's kicked away, and things only get worse. Another sergeant tries to flip the blame, accusing Reggie of swearing while he's calmly explaining what happened. It's a blatant display of hypocrisy, ego, and abuse of power, and every second is caught on camera.
Go away, you biff.
Biff?
Go away.
Why?
Because I'm busy and I haven't got time for people like you.
You call me a f***ing biff?
I called you a biff.
What for?
Because you're a biff.
Why though?
No, go away because I'm busy.
I just went like that.
Somebody. Yeah, I know, and you know me now. So go away.
What are you going to do about it?
Go away, you.
Don't call me a f***ing biff. I'm not a football lad.
Go away.
I'm not going anywhere, I'm on a public footpath. You f***ing biff. Miss, he called me a f***ing biff and he's a sergeant.
Okay, we just dealing with...
I'm not a football lad. I'm not a football lad.
Alright.
He called me a f***ing biff.
Okay, are you okay to just...
Can you tell me... No, I'm not. I'm getting a train.
Right, okay then.
Can you tell me what police force he's from? Please,
Let's
miss.
see what force we are here and we've
I don't know, but what? No, is it Blackburn? Is it Preston?
Lancashire Police.
No, but what?
I can't tell you you've already done the photograph anyway.
What the?
Section 5 makes it an offence to use threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behaviour within the hearing of someone likely to be caused harassment, alarm, or distress. In this situation, the sergeant's language not only breaches professional standards, but could also be considered criminal, as it clearly has the potential to cause distress, especially when coming from an authority figure. What makes it even worse is that the sergeant doubles down when the auditor, shocked, repeats what was said. Instead of correcting himself or apologising, he brazenly confirms it. I called you a effing biff. This shows it wasn't a slip of the tongue or a momentary lapse. It was deliberate and intentional, revealing a mindset of contempt rather than service. An officer using language like this not only damages public trust, but also violates the College of Policing's Code of Ethics, which demands that officers act with respect, courtesy, and impartiality. The fact that this comes from a sergeant, someone expected to lead by example, makes it even more disgraceful.
We're just dealing with...
I know, but you weren't dealing with anybody when I was at the side of the van.
Okay.
He called me a f***ing biff. Why?
Come in now. I've had a very, very long day.
Yeah.
I'm very busy. I'm very tired.
Yeah.
I've still got a long time to go on this shift. And
Yeah.
the last thing I need is people like you coming to the side of my police van, pulling stupid faces when I've got stuff to do. I am a very busy man. Clearly,
Can I pull stupid
if you wish
faces?
to make a complaint about me, fill your boots. But I've had enough.
What
and I need
station
you to go
What
away.
station are you based at?
Blackburn.
Blackburn.
Yes. All right.
Right.
Thank you very much. You've had your fun now. Please, will you leave?
No, I'm catching a train.
Right. Well, go and get a train then.
Serious, Constable?
Yeah.
Are you a sergeant?
Yes. Go and get a train. Go get a train.
That's unwanted contact, that.
You're going to finish with getting arrested. You're going to
But he's a police officer.
I don't want to get arrested. No, I know.
then just go.
Stop pushing me in my back, please. I'm not a football fan. I'm not a football fan. Sergeant, that is pure that.
There's no need for this, isn't it?
That is pure that. What he did to me then.
The situation becomes more concerning when the sergeant escalates to physically pushing the auditor away. Officers are required to ensure that any use of force is reasonable, necessary, and proportionate. In this case, the auditor was neither physically aggressive nor posing any threat. He was merely questioning the sergeant's inappropriate language. Pushing someone in this context could be interpreted as common assault under Section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988, making the sergeant's reaction an overstep of his authority. The most telling part of the encounter is the sergeant's dismissive remark, "If you wish to make a complaint about me, fill your boots." This statement reflects a sense of immunity that some senior officers develop, as if rank somehow shields them from consequences. Instead of recognizing his misconduct or attempting to de-escalate, the sergeant shows indifference to accountability, displaying a mindset that higher rank justifies abusive behavior.
Walk the train station.
Did you witness the pushing?
I've not witnessed any pushing, no.
You didn't witness the
No,
pushing?
we're just removing you from the area because
I'm going on a train. I'm going on a train.
But why are you not walking? Come on.
Why would he use that language to me though?
Come on.
Please, miss.
Come
You are currently live to hundreds of people, sir.
Your behaviour towards police officers today has been nothing but disgraceful.
Disgraceful? I've got it all on record. I've got it all on record. I got it all on record. What did I swear? Did I swear or anything like that to you, sir? What did I swear? Pull in a face?
When we're very busy people.
Pull in a face? You committed a public order offence. You called me a biff. Did you call me a biff? Did you call me a biff? Pull a face. That's what I do to kids. That's what I do to kids. You call me a biff, and I've got it all on camera. Sergeant 75, you will be disgraced, sir.
The sergeant's excuse for his behaviour is almost laughable, claiming that the auditor's making faces justified swearing and pushing is both childish and legally flawed. Being looked at or having faces pulled at you doesn't give an officer the right to lose composure, especially a senior one expected to show professionalism and restraint. The irony is even sharper when the sergeant accuses the auditor of disgraceful behaviour. The auditor remained vocal but non-violent, while the sergeant repeatedly swore, physically pushed him, and then doubled down instead of apologising. If anyone acted disgracefully, it was the sergeant, not the auditor. This blame shifting is a clear attempt to deflect accountability. Instead of reflecting on his actions, the sergeant tries to make the auditor seem at fault, as if a few facial expressions could justify unprofessional conduct.
You're obviously harassing my officers.
Harassing your officers?
I'm seeing people a little bit upset when you're speaking to them.
Do you know why they're upset? Because I've caught them out calling me a biff, and I've got the evidence to back that up. Would you endorse that sort of language?
I'm not going to comment on what other people have said.
So if I called you a biff now, how would you react to that?
I'm quite offended the fact that you...
Would you arrest me for that?
...you've sworn on the railway, which is contrary to a bylaw 8, so I suggest you...
And I would not do that, sir.
You have.
No, I've told you what he said.
Sworn.
No, I told you what he said.
It doesn't matter because you've sworn.
The real issue here is not just the lack of professionalism, but the blatant twisting of facts. The auditor was clearly giving an example, not directing the insult at anyone, and yet the sergeant immediately turns it into an accusation, claiming that swearing on railway property breaches bylaw 8 without recognising that it was merely a repetition of what the first sergeant said shows a deliberate attempt to flip the blame. Instead of addressing the initial misconduct, this sergeant tries to pin the issue back on the auditor, which is both dishonest and unfair. What's even more concerning is how this tactic reflects a circle the wagons mentality. Rather than holding the first sergeant accountable for his unprofessional language, the second sergeant tries to shield his colleague by manipulating the context. It's not just poor policing, it's a calculated move to protect one of their own by distorting reality.
What, by repeating one of your... Can I report a crime to you?
Absolutely report a crime.
Well, I want to report a crime to you. One of your constables called me a biff. Right? Sergeant 75.
Well, that's not a constable, that's a sergeant.
Well, it's still a crime. I'm repeating his words. I haven't said them. I'm saying what he said to me.
Yeah, well, you then said, what if I called you?
So I'm asking you what in return.
You have sworn without referencing another person.
Well, can I just tell you this, sir? Just spin this here. We're live to a lot of people right now,
I'm really
right?
bothered about that.
So therefore, just be careful where you go with
Do you
this.
understand that the railway bylaws...
I know the bylaws, but they haven't. None of the British Transport Police have asked me to leave.
It's a constable.
A British Transport Constable, not a Lancashire Police Constable.
How are you misunderstanding the law? It says the word constable. Constable can enforce a bylaw. Yes, the BT can have primacy, however a constable can enforce a bylaw. You are currently, by swearing, acting in an unacceptable manner.
Oh, so here we go, guys. Another tyrant here. He's just said that I am swearing by merely repeating a sergeant's words. That's what I was doing. I wasn't swearing. No. Listen, Constable. So you are not. You can't. No. I asked you a question. I asked you a question, Constable. You're a sergeant as well. So is this how sergeants go down? I swore. I asked you, how would you feel if I called you that? Right? So I won't repeat it again because I don't use that language. I don't use that language. I don't, because it weren't directed at you. He directed it at me.
Then what I'd advise you, if you've got evidence, is ring 101 and make a complaint.
I want to make a complaint to you now.
I can't investigate another sergeant. He's the same rank as me, so what I would suggest...
Oh, you can't investigate another sergeant? He's same rank? That's corrupt, that.
The sergeant slips up and says, "I can't investigate another sergeant, he's the same rank as me." That statement is incredibly revealing. It's an admission that within their ranks there's an unwritten rule of not holding each other accountable. The auditor is absolutely right to call it corrupt because it fundamentally undermines the principle of impartiality and accountability in policing. This mentality, that officers of the same rank won't investigate each other, sends a damaging message that seniority provides immunity from consequences. In reality, any officer, regardless of rank, has a duty to take complaints seriously and ensure they are handled properly. By openly admitting that he won't investigate his colleague simply because they share the same rank, the sergeant confirms the auditor's point. It's not about justice or professionalism, it's about protecting their own.
I will be doing in my own time. I asked you a question. I wasn't swearing at you, and you know that, Constable.
The second time.
You know I weren't swearing at you.
Swearing in general, when?
But do you know what? If there's no member of public making that complaint, if there wasn't a person in the hearing of sight of that verbal, well, you haven't got a complaint of it. So there you go.
I need a complaint.
You do, because you can't be offended by that word.
But I'm not talking
That
about,
might be in my vocabulary.
Public order. Talking about the bylaws.
Bylaws for the train station. So no British Transport Police Constable has asked me to leave this, which is accessible from all members of public until you get to that door.
Private property.
It's not up. It's up until you go into them doors.
No, you're misunderstanding.
Well, you ask a British Transport Constable here now.
This is part of the railway.
I spoke to a British Transport Constable and he has no problem with me being here, and you do, and you're Lancashire Police.
I have got a problem, so you're swearing.
I'm not swearing. I asked you a question, sir, on your sergeant's words.
Sworn.
The sergeant knows that the auditor isn't actually swearing at him, but rather repeating what the previous sergeant said. Instead of acknowledging the problem, he attempts to make the auditor look like the offender. It's a deliberate tactic to muddy the waters, making it seem like the auditor is being disruptive when in reality, he's just holding them accountable. By refusing to accept that the words were a quote and not a direct insult, the sergeant is actively trying to flip the narrative to put the auditor on the defensive. It's not just dishonest, it's a strategic move to invalidate a legitimate complaint by reframing the situation. This constant shifting of blame highlights a deeper issue. The sergeant is more interested in deflecting criticism than addressing the actual misconduct.
Seriously?
Well, did you not?
I swore. Is that a public order offence?
I'm not saying it is. Have I said that? Have I said the word?
Well, what are you repeating it for then?
What?
Do you know
What I'm
Section
saying-
5 public order needs to be abusive and threatening in its nature?
have
Have
I-
I abused you or threatened you?
Have I mentioned Section 5 of the Public Order Act?
Well, what law are you trying to stop me from using that word?
Bylaw 8 of the railway bylaws
Yeah.
incorporates unacceptable behaviour,
Yeah,
including
That's right.
swearing on the railway.
there you go.
But-
And I asked you a question about your sergeant who directed them words at me. I've got the evidence that I never use them words. I never use them words at him. He used them words at me. And I'm asking you if that's acceptable for your sergeant to call me something biff. I will not use that word again if you don't want me
No, I
to.
find it quite offensive if you do.
What makes this so hypocritical is that the sergeant is clearly stating that the word is offensive and unacceptable when used by the auditor. Yet, when his fellow sergeant used the exact same language towards the auditor, he didn't hold him accountable or even acknowledge it as wrong. The same word, when used against a member of the public, was dismissed and excused, but when the auditor repeats it in context to explain the incident, suddenly it's treated as unacceptable and offensive. This double standard shows a clear bias towards protecting fellow officers rather than upholding professional standards. It's a clear demonstration of how some officers bend the rules to fit their narrative. In this case, using the word as a weapon against the auditor while simultaneously condemning the auditor for using it in a non-confrontational way.
I find it offensive that he directed that word at me.
Then I suggest you ring 101, who will take your...
Well, you're not looking good, Sergeant, because you're absolutely... Because I'm asking you a question.
You're asking me to take a complaint.
No, I'm asking you a question on what your sergeant said to me, and you're saying that I'm guilty of the thing that he said to me.
I don't know what he said. I was not...
You tried to get me off this property for using a word that your sergeant said to me. Did you just try to get me to leave here for that word?
To leave the railway station.
Well, you've no law to say that. I'm walking in my capability. Bye. See, there you go, guys. Absolute corrupt.
As the episode wraps up, the auditor finally calls out the sergeant's blatant hypocrisy, pointing out that he's being asked to leave for using the same word that another sergeant used against him. Realizing he's losing the argument, the sergeant abruptly tells the driver to drive off, clearly wanting to escape the situation rather than face the truth. It's a telling end to an encounter where ego and authority took precedence over professionalism. From the start, the first sergeant's behavior was rooted in arrogance, swearing at the auditor without provocation, calling him an effing biff, and then doubling down instead of apologizing showed a complete lack of professionalism. The subsequent physical push only made it worse, revealing his tendency to use force rather than address criticism calmly. This wasn't just a lapse, it was a clear misuse of authority, and his dismissive attitude when challenged only demonstrated how deeply ingrained his belief in rank immunity was. The most shocking part, however, was the reaction from the second sergeant when the auditor tried to address the issue. Instead of acknowledging the inappropriate behavior of his colleague, he chose to twist the situation and accuse the auditor of swearing, despite the fact that the auditor was merely quoting what was said to him. His refusal to investigate, citing the excuse that they were of equal rank, was a blatant display of bias and protectionism. It demonstrated how some officers prioritize protecting their colleagues over addressing legitimate complaints. This episode clearly highlights the hypocrisy and lack of accountability displayed by both sergeants. One swore and pushed the auditor, while the other tried to cover for it by manipulating the context. Instead of owning up to the mistake, they both chose to double down and deflect blame. In the end, it wasn't just the offensive language or the unnecessary force that made this encounter troubling. It was the unwillingness to admit fault and the deliberate attempt to flip the blame onto the auditor. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps me continue with my independent coverage. Also, don't forget to check out Reggie. His channel is linked in the description. Show him some love. Thanks for watching. This was Rate the Audits, and I'll see you in the next one.